Talk. I am your host, Mashuma Saba, M. Saba, and this is our Cultural Variety Podcast. Stay tuned. Peace. And welcome to Coffee Talk Podcast, the Grown Folks Social Hour. That's right, it's the Grown Folks Social Hour. This is what we do on Friday and Saturdays. We like to unwind, chill, relax, reflect, play 10-question Q&A, possibly offer a guest or have a guest on the show. And we like to just have a good time, man. We worked all week and we like to enjoy ourselves. But tonight, we're going to take a little bit of a right turn. And what we're going to do is, not only are we going to enjoy ourselves, but tonight, because it's cold, it's wet outside, it's been like this for 2 days, we're going to just enjoy ourselves. We're going to have a nice little reading, man. We're going to touch on power a little bit. You know what I mean? And one of the things that comes to mind for tonight's show is that we're going to definitely be talking about the power of the mastermind. That's right, the power of the mastermind, which is a chapter 10 in the great book of Think and Grow Rich and the Law of Success by author Napoleon Hill. So we're definitely going to get into that tonight on this Saturday night evening. Not that fun. I'm a little excited. You know, I'm excited because it's been a while. You know, our show appears 3 times a week. And, you know, Saturday to Saturday or Friday to Saturday can be a long time in between. So, you know, I feel happy to be here with y'all tonight. Welcome to the show. If you're just tuning in, this is Coffee Talk Podcast. Make sure you tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend that Coffee Talk Podcast is on this evening. And because you're not going out tonight and you want something to do, I'll tell you what, it's a secret, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. Go ahead, pour yourself some water, some wine, a smoothie, a cappuccino, some coffee, a beer, whatever you do on this Saturday night. But make sure you enjoy yourself. Come on in, kick your feet up, and welcome to our show, Coffee Talk Podcast. All right. But we never start the show. We never start the show without giving you its flavor as well as its wise words. And so tonight I was thinking about what kind of flavor we can give y'all tonight. You know what I'm saying? What are you sipping on tonight? What's the flavor? So what I want to ask you is whatever you sipping on tonight, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you're sipping on. And what that be. You know, tonight, also, as part of the flavor, I want to go ahead and say what the flavor is. And the flavor tonight is one of the most expensive bottles of wine, according to Portugal Vineyards. One of the most expensive wines out right now, going for a bottle of $87.90, is the Magnum Herdade Aladita Sima. That's right, the Magnum Herdade Aladita de Sima, which is a very top brand wine with what they call it, a material and flavoristic aroma. You know what I'm talking about? And this bottle here goes for $87.90 a bottle, man. It must taste good. You know, it's a clear wine. So, you know, I'm not giving too much props to it. I ain't got no endorsement rights, but I like wine. You know what I mean? So why not crack some type of wine tonight? And so tonight's flavor is that expensive shit. You know what I'm saying? $87.90. Make sure you grab you some wine. That's right. Grab you some wine. Order it online, and it can be at your doorstep. Hey, don't I sound like a commercial? But for real, here's some wine. Though. We all like wine, don't we? No doubt. All right, so moving right along, though. I want to give a big shout out to the promoters at First Avenue. You know what I'm saying? I think it's called First Street, some shit. To me, it's First Avenue. whatever door else you go into, I don't, whatever. They said there's another club in there, or whatever, or they use another name, whatever. But big shouts out to First Avenue, man, because they are hosting the 50 years of hip hop celebration tonight. It started at 7 p.m. October 20th. So, oh no, that's next week. I'm sorry for the bad news. But yeah, First Avenue is celebrating 50 years of hip hop, man. And that's not bad news, is it, right, y'all? Well, shit, I tripped over my words. I call myself. You know what I mean? What do y'all remember about hip hop, man? Who's y'all's favorite rap group of the 80s? Who's y'all's favorite rap groups of the 90s? Who's your favorite rap groups of the 2000 to 2010? You know, let me know. Do y'all remember when Kane was controlling the crowd? You know what I mean? Was the top dog? How about LL Cool J? Yeah. Do y'all remember the Fat Boys? Do y'all remember the Skinny Boys? Let me know. Let me know. Do y'all remember Stetsasonic? I'm just throwing a few names out there for y'all. You know, respect to hip hop and its 50 years of its 50-year celebration. No doubt about that. All right. So, other than that, the wise words. Let's jump into that. A lot of people write us from time to time. They hop in our DMs and they say, you know what? The wise words is something that I look forward to when I check out your show, Coffee Talk Podcast, because the wise words are inspiring. Sometimes they give me something to think about later on in the evening or whatever that helps push me forward. So that's why we do the wise words. You know what I'm saying? We want to always give you something that is an affirmation, something that is uplifting, and something that's going to keep you going. So we always like to give you that type of flavor, and that's the wise words. So tonight's wise words comes from an Islamic scholar. He was born September 30th, 1207. Went to the Essence December 17th, 1273. One of our greatest scholars. His full name is Jalil ad-Din Muhammad Rumi. Some people call him Rumi. He was a 13th century poet. And his wise words tonight, my people, is this. Rumi says, finding faults is for those with tired minds. I'll say it again. Finding faults is for those with tired minds. And again, that is from our Islamic scholar and 13th century poet, Jalil ad-Din Muhammad Rumi. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into the show tonight. Like I said, we're going to take a little left right here. You know what I mean? Tonight, we're going to sip some wine. We're going to have a good time. And we're going to talk about some of these things that I really want you to pay attention to. Let me know what your thoughts are as you hear it. We're going to jump into Think and Grow Rich and the Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. This chapter is called Chapter 10, if you have that book. And the title of it is called The Power of the Mastermind. You know what I mean? Are you a mastermind? Go ahead and let me know what your definition of a mastermind is. Leave that in the comments. Let me know what power means to you. Go ahead and leave that in the comments. All right, let's begin. Power of the mastermind, the driving force, the 9th step towards riches. Here we go. Power is essential for success in the accumulation of money. Plans are inept and useless without sufficient power to translate them into action. This chapter will describe the method by which an individual may obtain and apply power. Power may be defined as organized and intelligently directed knowledge. Power, as the term here is used, refers to organized effort sufficient to enable an individual to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. Organized effort is produced through the coordination of effort of two or more people who work toward a definite end in a spirit of harmony. Power is required for the accumulation of money. Power is necessary for the retention of money after it has been accumulated. Let us ascertain how power may be acquired. If power is organized knowledge, then let us examine the source of knowledge. Before we go into that, I want to hear your thoughts. Is power knowledge? Do you need some type of power to obtain some type of knowledge? Leave that in the comments. Let's go forward, shall we? Let us ascertain how power may be acquired. If power is organized knowledge, let us examine the source of knowledge. Infinite intelligence. This source of knowledge may be contacted through the procedure described in another chapter with the aid of the creative imagination. So it takes an imagination for you to proceed in anything. It takes an imagination for you to even obtain some sense of power. Accumulated experience. The accumulated experience of man, for that portion of it which has been organized and recorded. It may be found in any well-equipped public library. An important part of this accumulated experience is taught in public schools and colleges where it has been classified and organized. The experiment and research. In the field of science and in practically every other walk of life, men are gathering, classifying, and organizing new facts daily. This is the source to which one must turn when knowledge is not available through accumulated experiences. Here too, the creative imagination must often be used. Are you paying attention to that, or is that losing you? But power is two or more things, not one thing. It's not simple math if you think one thing is powerful, because one thing can be isolated. Two things is more than one mathematically. So it takes two to start to accumulate some type of experience through their imagination. And you can gain power through your imagination through various types of environments, such as public schools or colleges. Either way, it's classified and it's organized. That's what power is. Let's continue. Knowledge may be acquired from any of the foregoing sources. It may be converted into power by organizing it into a definite plan and by expressing those plans in terms of action. So another part of power is, first, after you imagine it or you manifest it, that's not enough. You have to still convert that power into some type of organized plan to be able to move strategically, to be able to get strong or maintain your power. That's the action. Examination of these three major sources of knowledge will readily disclose the difficulty an acknowledge would have if he depended upon the efforts alone in assembling knowledge and expressing it through the definite plans in terms of action. If his plans are comprehensive and if they contemplate large proportions, he must generally induce others to cooperate with him before he can inject into them the necessary element of power. So also to obtain power, You would have to be inducing others. Because if the others don't believe in you, or they don't fear you, then where does your power lie? Or respect you? What's your thoughts on that? Leave a comment. Gaining power through the mastermind. Now, some of y'all may not be getting it tonight. Some of y'all is already on 8 as far as your attention span. You ready to go shake your ass. You ready to hit the club. Because that's the safest thing for you. No measurement of power. Just buffoonery in that lifestyle, in that world, over and over and over again, each and every week. The mastermind may be defined as coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between 2 or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. No individual may have great power without availing himself of the mastermind. In the preceding chapter, instructions were given for the creation of plans for the purpose of translating desire into its monetary equivalent. If you carry out these instructions with persistence and intelligence and use discrimination in the selection of your mastermind group, your objective will have been halfway reached even before you begin to recognize it. They like minds move in a way of power. Again, an individual isolates themselves. So you may better understand the intangible potentialities of power available to you through a property chosen by the mastermind group. We will here explain the 2 characteristics of the mastermind principle, one of which is economic in nature and the other in psyche. The economic feature is obvious. Economic advantages may be created by any person who surrounds himself with the advice, the counsel, and the personal cooperation of a group of men who are willing to lend him wholehearted aid in a spirit of perfect harmony. This form of cooperative alliance has been the basis of nearly every great fortune. Your understanding of this great truth may definitely determine your financial status. What do they mean by that? What it means is that, first of all, to project power, you need more than one person. 2, when you start to get around a group of A-like minds, this too will infect your psyche, meaning that if you're around a bunch of rich people, you're going to be the next rich one. If you're around a bunch of intelligent people, you're going to be the next one. If you're around a bunch of dummies, you're going to be the next one. But when you're around the A-like minds and you're around people that are pushing for a common cause, a cooperative alliance, that is the basis of nearly every great fortune. Every successful billionaire, every successful man of great wealth had counsel, had advice, and had cooperation from a group of men. It's right here. The psyche phase. Let's talk about it. The psyche phase of the mastermind principle is much more abstract, much more difficult to comprehend, because it has reference to the spiritual forces with which the human race as a whole is not well acquainted. You may catch a significant suggestion from this statement. No 2 minds ever come together without thereby creating a third invisible, intangible force, which may be likened to their third mind. Keep in mind the fact that there are only two known elements in the whole universe, and that is energy and matter. It is well-known fact that the matter may be broken down into units of molecules, atoms, and electrons. There are units of matter which may be isolated, separated, and analyzed. Likewise, there are units of energy. The human mind is a form of energy, a part of it being spiritual in nature. When the minds of two people are coordinated in a spiritual harmony, the spiritual units of energy of each mind form an infinity, which constitutes the psyche's phase of the mastermind. The mastermind principle, or rather the economic feature of it, was first called to my attention by Andrew Carnegie over 25 years ago. He discovered of this principle was responsible for the choice of my life's work. Mr. Carnegie's mastermind group consisted of a staff of approximately 50 men with whom he surrounded himself for the definite purpose of manufacturing and marketing steel. He attributed his entire fortune to the power he accumulated through the mastermind. Analyze the record of any man who has accumulated a great fortune, and many of those who have accumulated modest fortunes, and you will find that they have either consciously or unconsciously employed the mastermind principle. Great power can be accumulated through no other principle. Energy is nature's universe set of building blocks out of which she constructs every material thing in the universe, including man, and every form of animal and vegetable life. Through a process which only nature completely understands, she translates energy into matter. Nature's building blocks are available to man in the energy involved in thinking. A man's brain may be compared to an electric battery. It absorbs energy from the ether, which permeates every atom of matter and fills the entire universe. It is a well-known fact that a group of electric batteries will provide more energy than a single battery. Again, it is also a well-known fact that an individual battery will provide energy in proportion to the number and capacity of the cells it contains. I want to stop right there for a moment, because it's telling you the blueprint. It's showing you the blueprint that if you want to get on, you want to make some type of money, if you want to build some type of brand, it takes you and another A-like mind. It just does. This is why people form teams in business, teams in networking, teams in providing each other resources or outlets. This is what they mean. But when you're trying to do things by yourself, you're isolated, or it's going to take you even longer. Now your mastermind is being challenged by the adversity you have to deal with as you travel along, trying to accomplish a goal or trying to complete a task. That's what we're talking about right now. The brain functions in a similar fashion. This accounts for the fact that some brains are more efficient than others, and leads to this significant statement. A group of brains coordinated or connected in a spirit of harmony will provide more thought energy than a single brain, just as a group of electric batteries will provide more energy than a single battery. Though this metaphor, it becomes immediately obvious that the mastermind principle holds the secret of the power wielded by men who surrounded themselves with other men of brains. There follows now another statement which will lead still nearer to an understanding of the psychic phase of the mastermind principle. When a group of individual brains are coordinated and functioning in harmony, the increased energy created through the alliance becomes available in every individual brain. So when we start working as a unit, then we all start to accomplish things because we all are using more than one brain. It is a well-known fact that Henry Ford began his business career under the handicap of poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance. It is an equally well-known fact that within the inconceivable short period of 10 years, Mr. Ford masterminded these three handicaps. And that within 25 years, he made himself one of the richest men in America. Connect with this fact the additional knowledge that Mr. Ford's most rapid strides became noticeable from the time he became a personal friend of Thomas A. Edison. And you will begin to understand what the influence of one mind upon another can accomplish. Go a step further and consider the fact that Mr. Ford's most outstanding achievements began from the time that he lured the acquaintance of Harvey Firestone, John Barrows, and Luther Burbank, each a man of great brain capacity. And you will have further evidence that power may be produced through friendly alliances of minds. Again, you are who you associate with. If you want to make moves, you have to associate yourself with those that make moves. You can't do it alone. You can't act like, I don't need nobody. These are false. These are false premises. You want to link up with the egg-like minds. You want to link up with the gentlemen that do what you do or the women that do what you do. This ain't going to do nothing but elevate you and them. Here at Coffee Talk Podcast. There is little, if any, doubt that Henry Ford is one of the best informed men in the business and in the industrial world. The question of which wealth needs no discussion. Analyze Mr. Ford's intimate personal friends, some of whom have already been mentioned, and you will be prepared to understand the following statement. Men take on the nature and the habits and the power of thought of those with whom they associate in a spirit of sympathy and harmony. Henry Ford whipped poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance by aligning himself with great minds, whose vibrations of thought he absorbed into his own mind. Through his association with Edison, Burbank, Barrows, and Firestone, Mr. Ford added to his own brain power, into the brain power, the sum and the substance of intelligence, experience, knowledge, and spiritual forces of these four men. Moreover, he appropriated and made use of the mastermind principle through the methods of procedure described in this book. This principle is available to you. We have already mentioned Mahatma Gandhi. Perhaps the majority of those who have heard of Gandhi look upon him as merely an eccentric little man who goes around without formal wearing apparel and makes trouble for the British government. In reality, Gandhi is not eccentric, but he is the most powerful man now living, estimated by the number of his followers and the faith in their leader. Moreover, he is probably the most powerful man who has ever lived. His power is passive, but it is real. Let us study the method by which he obtained his stupendous power. It may be explained in a few words. He came by power through introducing over 200 million people to coordinate with mind and body in a spirit of harmony for a definite purpose. In brief, Gandhi has accomplished a miracle. For it is a miracle for 200 million people can be induced, not forced, to cooperate in a spirit of harmony for a limitless time. If you doubt that this is a miracle, try to induce any two people to cooperate in a spirit of harmony for any length of time. Just two people. He had 200 million. Every man who manages a business knows that what a difficult matter it is to get employees to work together in a spirit even remotely resembling harmony. The list of the chief sources from which power may be obtained is, as you have seen, headed by infinite intelligence. When two or more people coordinate in a spirit of harmony and work toward a definite objective, they place themselves in a position through that alliance to absorb power directly from the great universal storehouse of infinite intelligence. This is the greatest of all sources of power. Where you get that at? Where do you get that at on a Saturday night, sipping wine, chilling, listening to Coffee Talk Podcast? That was a great read, y'all. Did any light bulbs go off? That we all need somebody, but not just anybody. But we all need to be dealing with other people with A-like minds. And when you do that, you start to see the prosperity. You start to see the vision. You start to reenact out the creative imagination. And that leads you to success. That's what Napoleon Hill was talking about. But when you try to do it on your own, man, it's going to take forever. Now you're battling so many different demons. You're battling consistency, adversity, wanting to quit, wanting to give up. And you just can't do that. When you're feeling low, make sure you go get around some people that can uplift you. That's what we're talking about. And that's what we do here at Coffee Talk Podcast, is we are the news media, the new news media. We're not the old media. We're not the podcast that give you a bunch of junk, bad energy, bad frequencies, holding you back, not elevating you, not teaching you, not giving you no flavor. That's why it's important to stop on. Find what day is your perfect day. Do you like to rock with Coffee Talk Podcast on Friday and Saturday nights? Do you like to rock with us on our Wednesday night sports night? Or do you like to rock with us on our Sunday, Monday cultural studies night? Whatever your lane is, just make sure that you're rocking with Coffee Talk Podcast and your boy, Mashuma Saba. Saba. This is the Cultural Variety Podcast Show. All right. I'm just checking the time. Again, if you're just tuning in, let me know that you're here with us at Coffee Talk Podcast. We just going in. We're talking about a few things tonight. All right. Now, this is what I'm going to do. Because it's a Saturday night. You sat there. Now you're up again. I want to get your full-fledged attention. I got a 3 to 5 minute read we're going to reflect on. But before we do that, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to take you on a 30-second commercial break. Make sure that you go pour yourself some more wine, because, again, tonight's flavor is wine. Have you some wine, you know what I'm saying? Wherever you at, it's cold outside. So I know you got you some nice carpet throughout your house. Rub your toes between your carpet. Grab your favorite pillow. Snuggle up in your favorite chair or your couch or your sofa or your bed and enjoy Coffee Talk Podcast. All it takes is some headphones, or all it takes is for you to turn the TV to YouTube, put in Coffee Talk Podcast with Mashuma Saba, and you can get the show. You also can get the show by subscribing to our show so that you can catch every episode that drops or get notified of that. And hey, be a part of it. Be a part of the flavor. Be a part of this culture. Coffee Talk Podcast. All right. So I'm gonna give you all a 30-second commercial break. You can run to the bathroom, do what you do, and then come on back. Have a seat. Coffee Talk Podcast in 30 seconds. See you in a minute. All right, welcome back to Coffee Talk Podcast. I am your host, Mashuma Saba, M. Saba, and it's our cultural variety podcast show. Grown folks social hour. You know what I mean? All right, so tonight I want to read another short story by an author by the name of Patricia Dixon Spears. That's right. She wrote a book a while back titled "We Want for Our Sisters What We Want for Ourselves." It's African American women who practice polygyny by consent. And she's having a conversation with a gentleman by the name of TRENYAAE BONDOJIA. TRENYAAE BONDOJIA. TRENYAAE BONDOJIA, his first name TRENYAAE means one who starts a revolt. And his last name BONDOJIA means a place where God teaches man. Now, we're not going to go too deep into his story, but we are going to start when he turned 19. Let's have that discussion. Mind you, Patricia Dixon is speaking with TRENYAAE. At 19, a year or so after I got out of high school, I looked at my community and I asked myself, why is it like this? I began to realize that something was wrong. I started looking in different places to try to find out what we could do to produce families that would be stable, that would give everybody what they need as far as being a member of a family is concerned. And that would allow us to be prosperous. I don't mean money-wise. I mean having what people feel family is about. A lot of people are members of families, but they don't have any fulfillment from being involved in one. If you ask most people whether they are happy being members of a family, a lot of people will say no. They felt displaced or what have you. So I started doing what a young American kid or African American kid would do with their time. I picked up the Bible. I thought at that time, this is the word of God, that the answer has to be in here. I looked in the Bible for years and years, and I couldn't find anything. I mean, I found concepts and principles. I looked out into the world and said to myself, this is the same stuff that got us into this situation. So I started to look at some things differently. When I was about 22 or 23, I met a brother who was a polygamist. I remember asking him what he did. He gave me all these reasons about love and family. And I mean, mind you, you're talking to a young man who's in his early 20s. I had no concept or understanding of what love facilitated inside of a family, or what it meant to be actually concerned, passionately concerned about someone. So these things were just pie in the sky to me. I mean, everybody says that their family is about love. No one says we got hated, and some of these things that exist in families. I remember coming home and talking to my great aunt who stayed next door to me. I was telling her about this guy and talking about how silly it was that he had several wives. And my aunt said to me, I'll never forget it. She listens to everything and And then she said, don't deny that from which you may have come. And I thought that this was strange for a woman who was a devout Christian and who believes Jesus is Lord. And this kind of stuff I asked, what do you mean? She said, you need to study for yourself so that you will know for yourself. Don't just say it didn't happen or it's not good. So I started studying and I started looking at polygyny. Here's TRENYAAE speaking. You and I were discussing why the Black community is in its present state of affairs. Now, why is the Black community in its present state of affairs? I would say that it's in its present state of affairs because we really don't have family structure that are suitable for us, for our space, for our world. Years ago, Hortense Kennedy at a national convention of Delta Sigma Theta suggested that Black women start considering polygyny. And from the article that was published in a Jet magazine, Black women were outraged. Now, here we are, 21 years later in 2007, and I would like to ask those women, those Deltas who were so outraged, what does the world look like now, 21 years later? Was she right? I know the answer is, of course, she was right. Things are probably worse than many of us thought. That's why I started studying polygyny, because I was looking at a situation, and what I found, I believe, is part of the situation to what we need to be looking at as a people. Look at the family structure in America. Most Black folk live in a Black community. Step outside your door and look at the number of apartments that you have, the number of spaces that you have. Once you count the number of spaces that have African American women staying in them, and then count the ones who are married, count the ones that have never been married, then compare them to the number of ones who have children. You will find, I don't care what the numbers are, typically most of them have not been married. The other thing that is typical is most of them have children, though. So there's something going on. There's no government official talking about kicking in the door, none of them. But let you talk about getting involved in polygyny. Let you talk about organizing this thing. Let you talk about having structured families. Let you talk about having our children to be full human beings, having structure that will allow them to function. All of a sudden, you're a terrorist. The government has to go in. Something is wrong. It's a cult. All of these things, all of these terms come up. I say this because one thing whites have done is that they've always protected their ideologies of competition and fitness. They don't like it when anybody organizes where they can produce. Look, Charles Darwin talked about survival of the fittest. You hear scientists talk about the rabbit that can run the fastest, the snakes that can crawl the fastest. Those are attributes of fitness. But the greatest quality of fitness is the ability to reproduce. If you can get your seed into the next generation, you've done something. In the human family, the question needs to be asked, what is fitness? Fitness among human beings means those who can get their offspring into the next generation, which with the best level of benefits so that they can go to the next level. That's fitness. If you compare African Americans, Africans, or people of color against Europeans, even though biologically our fitness is higher, our level of fitness when it comes to social dynamic of family is limited. That's important to understand. There has always been a concerted effort to make sure there's no true competition. Whites have always made sure there is no true competition between blacks and whites. They really don't care about black families as long as those black families are not being productive. They're fine with out of wedlock births, crime, and the kind of nonsense that goes on in our communities. Prisons are very good investments. Black children are labeled before they are even out of school. People know what's going to happen with them. Typically, the path has been laid. You cannot have the level of white success in America unless you have a backdrop to play it off of. The black drop is black, black failure, the ghetto, the negativity, what have you. These two things, these polar opposites are always playing against themselves. That's something that's set up in society. When it comes to this whole idea of family, the question is, what are black families supposed to look like? We have been in this land 140 years outside of slavery, trying to imitate the slave master with our family structures. It doesn't work for them, and it doesn't work for us. If it doesn't work for us, it is not all of a sudden going to start working. The one thing that black men and women have to realize is we're still mating and reacting to each other in a manner that is still based on what happened on the plantation. Black women have begun to accept the fact that black men are not going to be around. Black men have accepted the idea that they don't have to be supportive of their children or families. The black community has accepted the fact that women have children and we don't have to be supportive of them. You see hopelessness in children. You can see crime in the community. Many of the brothers are involved in some level of crime, or they have a job that is not going to produce enough to enable them to support a family. Many are not looking to have families. They may have a family biologically, but as far as social and economic involvement, there is none. Then there is conflict within the church. The church promotes the ideology of one man, one woman. I ask Christians this all the time. I say, look, you have a surplus of black women. What are we doing? The church continues to push this idea of one man, one woman. One of the greatest values in a system like polygamy is that it allows us to control the society in a manner that is divine. If you go back to the idea of fitness, you have to ask this question. What is the job of the female in a population? Some females are very discriminating, and men often talk about, oh man, you know they are picky. They're this way, they're that way. A woman by nature supposed to be picky because a woman decides the quality of the next generation by virtue of whom she sleeps with. So what we need to do first is promote the idea of woman being picky. Second, we have to make sure that the choices they have to choose from are of the highest quality. If monogamy is something that does not allow for the highest quality to be there, we need to get rid of it. And that's what we talk about. You ever watch that? People in monogamous relationships, they got the poorest quality of men. The Pookies, the Ray Rays. The ones that's not being productive, the ones that's not protecting or providing. If we had a system that promoted polygamy, you would change the context from which brothers operate. Brothers now, a sister is saying, I was in love with Josh as he was a good brother, but Josh was married. If I want to have a family, I can't be with Josh, so I have to find somebody else. What polygamy does now is it allows the sisters to be with the brother with various qualities. But without polygyny, you have to look somewhere else. Women are limiting their choices to benefit the idea of a monogamous society. Historically, less than 10 to 20% of the population in any society is polygamous. Polygamy, by and large, is an idea that moves individuals, particularly men, to the highest quality they can be. It lets suppose that you told a brother, look, if you go and get a job, you can become a college graduate. You do this or that, you can have 2 wives. How many brothers do you think would do that? But the reality is that everybody is not going to pass the test. Everybody is not going to do well, but most will try. The goal of polygyny for society is for everyone to seek to be the best they can be. That's what it's about. When you do that, what you find out is that those qualities become desirable. And as a result, become a part of a cycle, the cycle of history, the pact of the society. When you go to places in Africa or go to places in South America or any other places where polygyny exists, what you find is that the people have a very different cultural perspective about family. The African family is also so much different from what you have anywhere else in the world. You have a family of, say, a mother, a father, and their brothers and sisters. All of the children of the brothers and sisters are their children as well. And the children see each other as brothers and sisters. If you ask a typical African how many brothers and sisters he has, he'll laugh and say, I don't know, because everybody is a brother and sister. So when I talk about polygyny, I'm talking about building inside of individuals a different psychology. TRENYAAE, I want to go back to what you said before about the Western men establishing monogamy because of their inability to procreate to the level of people of color. What do you mean by limiting competition? Okay, well, that goes back to the whole notion of fitness. It goes back to Darwinism. When Europeans began traveling the world and looking around at things, they saw that other people procreate very easily. I'm going to say that again. Listen, if you're watching Coffee Talk Podcast, when Europeans began traveling the world and looking around at things, they saw that other people procreate very easily. So the level of difficulty with procreating and creating families was not as much work. There is nowhere else in the world where people talk about their mother-in-laws being hassless as they do in the West. Mother-in-law in other parts of the world are typically taken into a family, or you go into their family. It's not an antagonistic relationship. So that gives us some insight into Western psychology. They begin looking at this level of procreation, for example, in some African countries. A man might have 4 or 5 wives and 20 to 60 children. In the West, there is the idea that I leave my mother and my father and I go establish my own family and leave and have 1 or 2 kids, or maybe 3 or 4. When you compare it to the level of procreation with people of color, that's a vast difference. One of the most clever things that was created was monogamy, even though the Bible is filled with polygamy. Whether it was done consciously or unconsciously, establishing monogamy allowed whites to compete on a biological basis. I'll say that again. One of the most clever things, the technology that these Greco-Romans, these Europeans played on us, was the creation of monogamy. Because in the Bible, everybody's a polygamist. Whether it was done consciously or unconsciously, establishing monogamy allowed for whites to compete on a biological basis. So I asked this question tonight on Coffee Talk Podcast based off of this reading. Why did they establish monogamy? Because white people, Europeans, on their journeys around the planet, start to see the melanated peoples procreating much easier. It's science, y'all. They can't procreate at the rate of us melanated people. And we're almost done here, about another 2 minutes. They provide a level of material quality of life for their offspring to survive into the next generation while there is no competition. What do you get? You get blacks that are not as fit as whites are. Darwin talks about this with animals, but I talk about the females. If you look at any population, what happens is the females get around each other and see who's the most fit male, and competing with each other, which male survives. The one that survive are the ones that are allowed to mate with the females. The females know they have the best quality of semen at their particular point. in a material society, the best quality of men would be those who have a job, a car, and can buy them things. That's called a material society. But what happens in a society where you have a legitimate and illegitimate production of wealth? When I say illegitimate, I mean drug dealing and anything that's illegal. Now you have sisters who say, you know what? We don't have a lot of brothers who are doctors, teachers, and engineers because you've been fucking with the Pookies and the Ray Bays. So I'm going to choose Ray Ray. Ray Ray might not be the best person, but Ray Ray can provide for my children. That's what they do. But it never occurs to them not to choose Ray Ray because of certain qualities aren't there. This brother never has to develop because he wasn't taught to and expected to. And this gets played out. Now you have women who have children who have no respect because Ray Ray didn't have certain social pattern skills or graces. He may not have been exposed to certain intellectual pursuits or college or what have you. It doesn't make him a bad person, but he is competing against those who have mastered certain scientific, technological, and social skills and roles. You said some things about it not being natural for women to compete, but in being natural for men to compete. Would you expand on that? Our biology determines what we need to do in order to survive. For instance, when a man is sexually intimate with the woman and he ejaculates, his sperm are in competition. So there's a level of fitness inside of the nature of a man just by virtue of his sperm. A woman is not like that. A woman's body has so many eggs. Every month, the mature egg, the best quality egg, is placed there during ovulation for this woman to get pregnant. If she doesn't get pregnant, the egg is discarded. The second thing occurs over and over and over again. Her nature is dealing with what? It's dealing with quality and not quantity. It takes a woman a period of 28 days to produce quality, as it takes time for all that to occur. Whereas a young man can ejaculate in one woman in 20 minutes, he can ejaculate in another woman in 20 minutes. Later, he can ejaculate in another one. And this quality of sperm and his quality of sperm, as long as he is healthy, is the same. It's not the same with the woman. A woman's body puts everything into nurturing that one pregnancy to get the best out of it. A man's body doesn't function that way. So by nature, a woman thinks quality, a man thinks quantity. Even females do that in our society. You don't see men traveling the country behind one female, but you find females traveling the country behind one man. Groups of them will be sexually involved with this one man because of his status. It has been said the greatest aphrodisiac in the world is power. Most women, I don't care who they are. If the man has power, they don't mind sharing. You find very few men in the world who have power and don't have a variety of women around them. You're right, because for many women, if their husband is cheating and he has money and power, they accept it anyway. What a beautiful night. What a beautiful night. What a beautiful night. Saturday night, October 14th, 2023. And this is the show Coffee Talk Podcast. What do y'all think about that? Go ahead and leave a comment on tonight's show, man. There was a lot of fruit in there. You know what I mean? In both stories tonight. So if you're going out tonight, because it's early, you're still ironing. Do y'all still iron y'all's pants? Ironing. You're going out tonight. So maybe you didn't get to see the show. And I don't want you to watch the show when you're under the influence. So make sure you check out this show Sunday. You know what I mean? Stay home from church, relax your mind and your mental, and definitely check out Coffee Talk Podcast. Or make sure you get with the guys, man. We celebrating the Million Man March, which was 10-10-15. And so it is the anniversary. So we definitely doing that. So anyway, I would like to go ahead and just say thank you for tuning into our show tonight here at Coffee Talk Podcast. We really appreciate you. We like to go ahead and say just make sure that you are thinking critically, make sure you are planning, make sure that you are fulfilling your need personally and what you are trying to accomplish. I want to go ahead and hit you with the universal peace sign. And I just want to say thank you for tuning into our show, Coffee Talk Podcast, and we will see you later on this week. Thank you.